Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Do you have a phone addiction? Of course you do. How else did you find this video? It's okay. I also am addicted to my phone. I will scroll TikTok, Instagram constantly for hours without even realizing it. And from the people that don't have some sort of phone addiction, that don't spend constant hours on their phone looking at what other people are talking about, these people always brag almost in like a socially superior way of how much better their lives are, that they're not constantly chained to the apps and what the TikTokers are doing with their silly little dances and whatnot. Fuck you. Addiction is a problem in society and I can't control it. And there's so many different methods and ways that people have talked about of trying to break this addiction. One of those ways I recently saw through an Anna Akana video. She recently put out a video talking about the #1 way to kill your addiction to your phone. That being putting your phone into grayscale, amongst a few other things, but the grayscale is definitely the biggest thing on the list of things that will help your phone addiction. So of the things that stop your phone addiction is putting your phone to grayscale, turning off notifications for all social media related apps, putting your social media apps in a separate folder, and keeping your phone away from your bed at bedtime. And I decided for this week that I am going to try all of these methods in an attempt to break my phone addiction. I'm just constantly scrolling, trying to get a little bit of serotonin or something that makes me laugh, that I enjoy or think is cool. And then if I don't get it, you know, I keep scrolling until I do get it. And when I do get it, it's like, well, maybe the next one will be better. So I continue scrolling. It's, you know, I'm sure this is a familiar cycle that a lot of you also experience. It kind of sounds like I'm stalling, and that's kind of because I don't really want to do this. I don't want all the fun stuff on my phone to be taken away from me for this week, but you know what? Let's do it. You know, let's get into it. So the tricky thing about trying to make a video about doing stuff on your phone is that I don't have a second camera. I use my phone as my camera, so I don't have like a second camera to like keep track and witness all the things I'm doing. But I did want to document this because I literally just took my phone off of my camera light stand and went to go, like, you know, do all the things I'm supposed to do with my phone to prevent me from using it. And I have an Instagram notification. I was just about to actually open it up, but I wanted to hold myself accountable and not do that. All right, so you go into settings, and under accessibility and accessibility shortcut, I already set this. I just want to show how to get into it and go onto color filters. I believe if you check it on, you can triple click the home button and it'll turn to grayscale. So let's just see what if that worked. Yep, that worked. Oh, I kind of hate this. All right, and then we're gonna put everything. I can't do this. I'm weak. Put all social medias into a folder. Yeah, I think that's all my social media apps. Keep it away from bed at night. Thankfully, you know, in the mornings, my alarm is just on my watch. I have a charger on my desk, so I'm probably just gonna leave it on my desk. Oh, and turn off notifications. I'm gonna leave notifications on for messages, but like likes and stuff like that, I will turn off. All right, so there's that. I will keep my phone on my desk at night. So yeah, let's just see how this week goes. It has been only like, I don't know, 2 hours, and I feel like I just get depression from my phone now. There's a couple of like impracticalities, I feel like. One, Google Maps, the path is blue and the paths that I don't take are like gray. And I feel like I need that to like effectively use Google Maps while I drive, especially since I'm only taking quick glances at my phone. So like trying to differentiate between the darker shade of gray versus the lighter shade of gray is kind of difficult. I think it'd be interesting at the end of this to look at you can see like how much time you spend on various apps, and I would be really curious to see what my screen time for like certain apps like TikTok and Instagram looks like at the end of this week. So oh, and I also have the color on for video right now. I would like to be able to like see what I look like. Well, I'm gonna head home now. Good morning, folks. I'm being quiet this morning because my fiance is still sleeping in the other room. And I was about to head into work, but the snow is really bad this morning and roads sound like they're pretty bad, so I am staying home. As far as keeping my phone away from my bed this morning,
my watch went off and I barely woke up. Of course, I fell back asleep for like 10 minutes, but woke back up. Oftentimes, like if I'm laying in bed, I'll scroll through like Instagram for a little bit, but did not do that this morning. I thought that I fell back asleep for like a lot longer than I had, so I was like in a rush this morning. So I think it's possible that keeping my phone away from my bed prevented me from being on my phone for that long this morning. Or it might have just been the fact that I thought I didn't have nearly as much time as I actually had. So, but you know, a few more nights and we'll see if keeping my phone away from my bed actually helps. Hello, I'm checking in like halfway through this phone experiment. Yesterday, I feel like I was very productive. I hung up a picture that's been sitting on my desk for like weeks now. I cleaned my makeup brushes. I started working on what I thought was going to be a really simple project. It's this little book nook that my fiance's sister gifted us for Christmas. Apparently, these little kits take like days to assemble. I submitted one of two of the applications for getting money back from the Kia class settlement that's happening. But yeah, it was a very productive day off for me. You know, it's looking good as far as these changes that I've made to my phone. I think they're helping break the phone addiction and helping me be more productive on my off days. I will check in with you later this week. Hello. So the trying to break my phone addiction process is going interestingly. One, I think I've gotten now used to the grayscale on my phone, and I will now unfortunately scroll social media for just as long as previously, or at the very least I will scroll TikTok for a considerable amount of time. I tend to not scroll through Instagram so much. And I think that's because TikTok has a lot of like story time or story-based or narrative-based content versus Instagram is very visual. Also, I'm not a huge fan of like Instagram Reels and stuff like that. The other issue that I've come across is that I will take it off of grayscale for whatever reason, whether I need to use Google Maps or like I'm showing something to somebody and I don't want to make them look at whatever I'm showing them in grayscale, so I'll take it off grayscale to show somebody else something on my phone, and then I'll forget to turn it back onto grayscale. I do think keeping my phone away from the bed is helpful, even though it is annoying, especially on weekends, because on weekends I wake up, I roll over, pick up my phone, and scroll on my phone for like the first hour of my morning. Now I kind of roll around in bed kind of antsy for like 15-20 minutes. I get up out of bed, I check my phone for maybe like 10 minutes, and then I get started with my day. Because of the factors regarding me potentially getting used to the grayscale on my phone and like cheating and taking it off of grayscale and then forgetting to put it back on grayscale, I'm kind of curious to see what would happen if I let this experiment run another week, to see the difference between this past week, where I think it was the most effective, and see how it goes this upcoming week, now that I'm used to my phone being on grayscale and used to these various habits. I'm gonna check back in with you in a few more days. Hey folks, we are here for the big reveal. We're gonna see what my screen time has been for the past 2 weeks. Granted, it's been a little bit longer than 2 weeks. I was out of town for the eclipse and I just haven't had the time or energy to film anything. The week that I started this was the week of the 25th, so I am looking at the week prior. My average was, wow, is it really 3.5 hours a day? Top apps used is TikTok for 10 hours that week. Sounds about right. Next up, Instagram, which also makes sense. Google Maps, that's a little surprising, but also not because, you know, I need to drive from place to place and Google Maps is actively open the whole time that I'm driving. All right, and then the week that I started this, I'm still at 3.5 hours a day on average, which is interesting. I think Tuesday was the first day that I started this project, and that one is like the lowest amount. Wonder why Thursday is so high, and I wonder why Friday is so low. It's been a couple weeks from there, so I can't really remember what I was doing at that point. What's interesting is that TikTok dropped by 2 hours a day a week, which a couple of things that I realized while I was doing this was instead of going to TikTok and Instagram as default, I started going to one, I just downloaded the app called Too Good To Go, which is basically restaurants will give you leftover food at the end of the day. And I found myself scrolling that a lot, especially since they post them at like various times, completely random times throughout the day that you can't keep track of, that you just have to open the app to see what is available at that time, at that point. So I found myself opening it a lot. The other thing that I found myself opening up a lot was Poshmark. And I think that was mainly because I set everything to black and white for TikTok and Instagram because it's not really necessary. But for Poshmark, it's pretty necessary to see what color clothes you're looking at and shopping for. Because of that, I would take it off black and white. And because Poshmark was like the only thing I could actually see in color, I found myself drawn to it a lot compared to TikTok and Instagram, which I, for the most part, kept in grayscale. Let's see the week after that. 2.5 hours, so a full hour down, and only 7 hours on TikTok, so definitely less compared to 3 weeks ago when I was just doing regular usage. Instagram, you know, marginally less. Yeah, I mean, everything is like in the same order. I fully expected my Poshmark viewing to be way up. Wow, and this week, only 2 hours of usage a day. Oh my god, and my TikTok was only viewed for 3.5 hours and used about the same amount as Instagram, which is crazy because I know that Instagram I use significantly less than TikTok. So the fact that they are used the same amount, that means I cut my TikTok usage by quite a lot. So interestingly, between week 0, which is what I consider the like standard week of not implementing any of these changes to affect my screen time. Between week 0 and week 1 of implementing these changes, it looks like there's not a whole lot of marginal difference, but weeks 2 and 3 seem to show a marginal difference. I don't know if we have enough data to really back that claim up because I am just one person and this is my experience with it. I also have the added factor that I was traveling this past weekend, so I wasn't really using my phone all that much. And this past week also, I've been incredibly busy with work. I've done 10-hour days all this week, and so I haven't had a whole lot of time at home to myself. The other thing I'm curious about is my YouTube watch time. I mostly watch YouTube on my tablet here that I'm recording on currently. I feel like with implementing these things on my phone, I upped my YouTube watch time. So I'm gonna switch cameras and see what that looks like. All right, so week 0 where I did not change any of my habits, it was like 1.5 hours daily using YouTube on average, which makes sense. First week, yeah, jumped up to 4 hours a day. YouTube basically doubling in time. Let's see, a couple more weeks, then 3 hours and a day, and then 2 hours a day. So yeah, my prediction with that is definitely accurate. So let's review the findings from implementing these screen time limiting measures on my phone. One, I definitely switched my screen time from basically TikTok to YouTube. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. I'm still like looking at a screen. I guess you could read it as a attention span deal. So because TikTok is a short form medium versus YouTube is a long form medium, I guess you could say it's a good thing that I am spending my attention on a longer form medium as opposed to a short form medium. It looks like I have reduced my screen time. If not immediately on that first week, at least give it a couple of weeks. But the jury's still out on how concrete that claim is. I personally thought it would increase my online shopping Poshmark usage, but it looks like that has remained overall about the same. I guess we could say that overall this worked. The jury is still out on whether or not I feel better or more productive about my life. I think to a certain degree, I feel like I am enjoying my content that I am consuming more. Like if I'm watching a YouTube video, I feel like I am actively actually listening to it rather than just having it in the background for the sake of background noise. Similarly with TikTok, I feel like using it less means that I am actively enjoying what I am consuming rather than just scrolling until I find something suitable to enjoy and then continuing to scroll, and then the majority of my feed is stuff that I am not actively enjoying. I still don't fully concretely know how I feel about my limited TikTok usage now. I think I'm supposed to feel better about it, but I really don't know / can't tell. Weirdly enough, I think having all of my apps in a folder that I have to do an extra tap on helped a lot. That was one that I was not expecting it to help so much. I overall don't think I broke my phone addiction. To say that implementing these things worked or not, I guess you could say yes, they worked in the sense that I reduced my screen time, but I also don't think they worked in breaking my phone addiction. I think I'm just gonna keep doing these things and see how that changes over a long-term period. Would you ever try these things? Comment below, make sure to like the video, and subscribe if you haven't. Bye!